Hello good people and welcome back to IMO Reviews. We have got a whopping 5 films to catch up with you today, so let's dive straight into it, beginning with the movie I have been avoiding the most. Tron Ares. I have been avoiding Tron Ares because Tron just is not my thing. I've watched the previous film, Legacy, and was bored to tears by it, with a very small understanding of what was actually going on. I cared so little, I couldn't actually be bothered to follow the plot. It was free visual sleep medication to me. The whole neon setting and motorbike riding just does absolutely nothing for me. So why on earth would I be excited to see the sequel that I hear is even worse and doing terribly at the box office, also being frontlined by cult leader and known maniac Jared Leto, who is obsessed with playing this weird, flat, basic robot performance in everything now. And it's really jarring to me because once upon a time he used to be a half-decent actor. Dallas Buyers Club, great performance. American Psycho, really good. Somebody drank a little bit too much of the celebrity juice and has gone a bit cuckoo. And we sadly have to suffer it every single time he's on screen. My god, is he bad in this. It's just yet another terrible Jared Leto performance that will leave you scratching your head. What is anybody seeing in him to keep giving him roles? But to be honest, he's not the only offender. Everyone's performance in this is pretty damn flat and baseline. Even people that I consider to be good actors and actresses. So maybe that's just what the director wanted as a tone? Sheer fucking boredom, apparently? Yeah, okay, I can give the soundtrack a little bit of credit. It's quite good. I don't think it's anything to rush out to HMV and buy a copy of, but it's fine enough. At least it's fitting of the theme and the tone that the film is going for. It does amp up these very crap scenes into feeling a little bit less crap than they actually are. Just like I was with Legacy, I was bored to tears. The only positives that I can give it is the soundtrack and the fact that I've seen worse this year. It's not the most egregious, painful crap I've had to sit through. It was just boring, utterly forgettable, and totally not for me. But you know what? I'm sure there is a crowd for it. People who like Tron are going to be well up for this, I'm sure. And maybe it would work for teenage boys between the age of maybe 8 and 13, maybe 14 at a push. They might have some fun with this for a weekend if they've got nothing else to do and the weather's bad. So the least that I can give Tron Ares is a 2 out of 10. Next up is Roofman, starring Channing Tatum, which is based on a true story about a man who used to break in through the roofs of McDonald's and steal money from their safes. If this movie was straight to streaming, I would have been absolutely fine with it. I think that it is taking the mickey a bit by being in cinemas. It really isn't of that standard or quality. The performances all round are pretty decent. I actually thought Kirsten Dunst was the real star of the show, despite Channing Tatum getting the spotlight. And at least it is doing something a little bit different and more interesting, and made me curious as to what the real story behind this is. But to be honest, I think the movie doesn't understand what's actually interesting about its own premise. For me, the first half was way more interesting than the second. Having to deal with the consequences of his crimes and how he navigates that situation was far more interesting to me than watching him fall in love with Kirsten Dunst and try and be a good person. Yep, you can put your finger on the exact moment that this becomes a very generic and obvious love story. I'm not mad at it. I think it's harmless and it's fine, and it at least held my attention, and I did like the performances here. But it is such a shame that it doesn't continue on the path that it so brilliantly starts upon, and ends up just falling into yet another generic, yep, he's a bad guy, but he's a good guy at heart routine, when this man has actually done some really terrible, dreadful things that are quite unforgivable. I think it could have been a lot better if it had just gone through another rewrite and fine-tuning, but I'm happy enough with Roofman to give it a 6 out of 10. Next up is Amenome, which is the directorial debut of Ronan Day-Lewis, the son of Daniel Day-Lewis, of which this movie stars. The film is about Sean Bean, who heads out to find his secluded brother, Daniel Day-Lewis, and talk to him about their past and the impact that his disappearance has had on Day-Lewis's son. I was very intrigued to see this movie, especially because of Daniel Day-Lewis being so selective about the films that he chooses to do. He is easily one of the best living actors today, so of course if he does a movie, most people sit up and pay attention. And of course, he is fantastic in this film. As was Sean Bean, I thought they went together like a fine wine with a steak dinner. It was just perfect to sit in the presence of two brilliant actors and watch them do their thing. I liked the setting, I liked some of the cinematography. I think there is something interesting at play here in the depth and heart of this film. But unfortunately, that's as far as I can go with the praise for Anemone. There are real noticeable issues with this film that I think mostly honestly fall down to the fact that this is the director's first stab at making a movie. I think this is just learning mistakes, and he will figure these out and get better with time. The biggest issue for me with Amenome is that the director's artsy-fartsy way consistently gets in the way of the narrative and what's interesting about this story. On so many times does it burst into this same annoying, repetitive, transcendent music whilst offering these odd metaphorical scenes that are meant to be dissected but actually just come across as pretentious and frankly annoying or sloppy and could have been done better without being so arrogant about it. The word really is pretentious and stuffy, and it doesn't need to be, because there is a good film in here when it's just allowed to flow and do its own thing. But every time the director calls cut and decides to put one of these ridiculous, almost music video moments into the film, it pulls you out and it leaves you rolling your eyes. It has no reason to be this pretentious, and in doing so it actually cuts the heart out of the film, of which I believe it has a very big one. Maybe I am slightly on the higher side of this here because I've read a couple of other reviews who are giving it lower scores than I am, but I still think there is enough here to walk away with and remember the film, be intrigued enough to check it out again, recommend it to others, maybe just in the comfort of their own home rather than having to rush out to a cinema for it. And I personally am going to give Amenome a 7 out of 10. Next up is A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Oh my god, this was agony to get through, to be honest with you. Not my cup of tea at all, shall we say. I don't love romance movies, especially when they're so saccharine and fake and everything's just so ugh. But not in Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Oh no, it's just another bloody movie where these beautiful people who have no reason to not be together are just going to find every reason under the sun to not be together, only to then realise that they are actually better off together. And then they get together, and you just have to wait all 2 hours for us to get to that conclusion that you already know we were going to get to, because this formula is tired and has been for a long time. Introducing a bloody car rental service that introduces these Monster Inc. doors that lets you go through your past is not interesting enough for me to actually care about these characters, especially when a lot of the details that you tell me about them make me greatly dislike them. Colin Farrell is this obsessive freak who doesn't understand when he's dumped and when to move on, whilst Margot Robbie is a serial cheat who will just trample all over anybody in her life. What a phenomenal couple. I'm so glad they've met each other and I have to sit with them for 2 hours. And if that isn't bad enough, it's so obviously made by a drama student for the amount of times that it breaks into this almost socialite, elitist, let's all wear black and no shoes in a dark room with a spotlight over us and perform a fucking drama masterclass. Oh, just strangle me and end this pain. I hated this movie. I got nothing from it. I am very close to giving it a 1 out of 10, but I would be lying if I said there was nothing positive to say about it. Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell are both very good in it, it must be said, and it is to be expected. They're both great actors. I did like some of the locations and set design. I do think the film is made overall pretty competently. I'm giving A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey a 2 out of 10. Last but not least is The Black Phone 2. I was a little bit unpopular with my review for The Black Phone because a lot of people like that movie and I don't. I don't hate it, I just don't think it's all that good. Not only is it trying so hard to be Stephen King / Stranger Things because that's what's popular at the time, but then it decides to turn into a bloody Home Alone ripoff at the end and just make it all goofy and stupid. And I was very confused as to how we even go about doing a Black Phone sequel considering how the first Black Phone ends. And boy was I right to have those concerns, because my god does it have a knock-on effect to this movie. I have to word this carefully just in case you haven't seen the first movie. I don't want to be the person to spoil it for you and maybe give anything away for this one. But they basically have to turn into a bad Nightmare on Elm Street. They have the same issue that the Saw movies have, where after the third movie they realise they made a huge mistake and they have to now make everything a prequel or in the past just to include Jigsaw because they can't if it's in the future. We have the same problem here, except for rather than making everything a prequel, which they probably should have done, it's now that he's in your dreams. So he's now just a bad Freddy Krueger skating on the ice with a big grinning mask on. I thought it was kind of hilarious. I didn't find this scary in the slightest. All whilst making their narrative about something that happened happened 50, 60 years ago, which is actually the more interesting story and probably should have been what this film is. Why wasn't this movie a prequel following The Mum? I don't know, I don't get it. I mean, you're literally presenting it there in the film and then deciding to do other boring stuff instead. I also had a real issue with the dialogue in this movie. It feels like it's written by a 15-year-old at times. The amount of weird combination of swear words that are put together that stand out like sore thumbs in this film and really pull you out. At one stage, I may be misquoting, but I believe the girl refers to Ethan Hawke's character as a raging donkey fucker. It's just a bit odd and unusual and not really how people talk, but I suppose it isn't all bad. I can give it some praise for the fact that they do amp up the gore and the violence in this one, which I do think was extremely missing from the first movie. I don't like the way they do it, but hey, they do at least fill in some of the blanks for the characters and some of the backstory here, which was kind of interesting. But that's about it, to be honest with you. I thought this was a real thankless watch that I don't see the point in why it exists. It just wasted my time and ultimately was too damn stupid for me to really respect it as a proper film or be scared by it. I would love to see them dare try and make a third one. I mean, this franchise is done. It was done after the first one. It's now really done after the second one. But, you know, money talks, so I'm sure there'll be a third one. It doesn't have to be good, it just has to make money. That's how the movie industry works, people. And I'm going to give The Black Phone 2 a 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. Have you seen any of the movies that we've discussed today? What did you think about them? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, we can always click on these suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.